Welcome everybody to our brand new series called Exclusive Insights, the Cars of the Mercedes-Benz Museum. My name is Pádraig Ó Lionheoin and I'll be your guide again. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be taking a closer look at 7 vehicles in our museum. We'll be opening the doors, we'll be looking under the hood, and that's not something we do in our regular tours. So you can imagine how much I'm looking forward to this round, and I hope you are too. Let's have a closer look, let's get started, just follow me. So in the first episode of our new series, I'd like to start off by showing you the Mercedes-Benz 500k Special Roadster behind me here, on display in the Legend Room 3 of the Mercedes-Benz Museum. And especially for our new series, we have opened the bonnet of this car to show you the heart of the vehicle, the straight 8 5-litre engine with compressor. The compressor you can see quite clearly here. The engine, on its own, without the compressor, had 100 horsepower, which in 1934, when the vehicle was launched, wasn't bad at all. Most cars had about 28 horsepower, 30 horsepower. When you switched on the supercharger, however, the compressor, you suddenly had 60% more power in your engine. That gave you 160 PS, or 160 horsepower, and a top speed of 160 kilometers an hour. Unimaginable in the 1930s, but if you had enough money to get such a car, then you got the speed. So in 1934, the 500k was launched in Berlin. It was a sensation. It was available as a cabriolet and as a roadster. What we have here is a special roadster. Of the 342 500ks built between 1934 and 1936, 30 of them were built as special roadsters here in Stuttgart-Sindelfingen. And with the special roadster, the engine was behind the front axle, making the vehicle look longer and much more sportier. So in 1934, you just paid 26,000 Reichsmarks, and you got one of the most luxurious, one of the most elegant sports cars on the roads at that time. A car with 2 seats. Guess what's under the lid here? For the first time, for the general public, I am allowed, only for this series, to show you what's under the lid. Have a look at that. In North America, this extra seat is called the rumble seat. In Great Britain and the ex-colonies, they refer to it as the dicky seat. Here in continental Europe, nearly all of the countries, regardless of the languages spoken, it is called the mother-in-law seat, the Schwiegermuttersitz, or la silla de la suegra en español. Look how much space you have for your legs. With such little legroom, the mother-in-law seat was most often used to carry luggage or the shopping. In this particular model, we have 2 spare wheels, one above the other. Many of these roadsters had only 1 spare wheel, the lower one, which made it easier to hide it under a different panel. Some would believe making it more elegant. Maybe the mother-in-law had little legroom, but the driver certainly had more. And here, with this knob, you could adjust the seat of the driver backward and forward. My colleagues are going to be envious when they see this video, because none of them have had the honor to sit in the 500k Special Roadster. This is your steering wheel. Before you start your engine, you have to use this lever here to set the ignition timing. You put your key in here, adjust the choke, and then you pull the start button. And the noise of the 500k Special Roadster starting is so emotional, I always get goosebumps when I hear the noise. Weren't the dashboards at that time so beautiful? The dashboards themselves were works of art, some of them in imitation mother of pearl. Here in these dials, you have the engine temperature, you have your revs, that's your rev counter, As you can see here, it's in units of 100, so it's not 10,000 or 20,000 revs a minute. Here we have our fuel tank, benzene, the German word for petrol, or gas, our oil pressure, here the speedometer, and here we have 960 kilometers on the clock. And that's your natural clock. Unfortunately, I'm too tall for this vehicle because I'd never get the roof closed without having to pull my head in. And with this windscreen ridiculously low, I wouldn't like to drive it open at 160 kilometers an hour because it's not going to be any much help. However, if you did get the roof closed, I'm sure it's going to get heated up very quickly. To let some fresh air in on a rainy day, all you had to do was open the air vent up front, just by twisting this knob here. And now you can see the air inlet opening and closing. Count yourselves lucky, because this is not the sort of thing we would show our normal visitors in the Mercedes-Benz Museum. A very interesting feature, unusual for that time, in the 1930s, was the wing mirror, as you can see here. And behind it, you have a spotlight. Quite simply, in the 1930s, when the vehicle was launched, street lighting in the cities wasn't very good. And if you want to identify pedestrians on the walkways, or on the sidewalks, then all you had to do was turn the spotlight on them. Nice little gimmick. Doors that opened up like this were called suicidal doors at that time. Modern limousines, the wheels are attached with about 5 nuts. Sports cars maybe with 1 nut, exactly like here. Until 1933, the suspension systems in cars had hardly changed from prehistoric times, with leaf springs like we can see here from this legendary SSK racing car. 1933, Mercedes-Benz introduced a revolutionary suspension system, which we can again see here, with double wishbone axle and a coil spring. And this principle has hardly changed since then, available here with the 500k Special Roadster, making your journeys much more comfortable and more safe. A sensation at the time. That's the end of our look at the 500k Special Roadster in the Mercedes-Benz Museum. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to finish off by showing you a few clips, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week when we show you another red Roadster from our museum.